Today I want to talk about how getting in touch with the human side of your portraits can make them more relatable and more engaging to viewers. A few years back, I was looking over some photos and feeling pretty underwhelmed. The photos lacked heart. They didn't excite me. And that's a familiar feeling for me. It hits me every time I get stuck when my photos start to mirror my lack of inspiration or my lack of progress. A long walk can snap me out of these moods. I think getting away from everything gives my subconscious a chance to process what's really on my mind. I came away from that hike convinced. I'd been so focused on the visual aspects, on making my photos beautiful, that I'd lost sight of the human aspects. My friend Monica is in this photo, but it isn't really about her. There's nothing about the location, the lighting, the pose that tells us anything about who Monica is or what she stands for. Kate Woodman is fantastic at this. Her scenes are immaculately crafted to create context for her subject. They tell us a lot about who we're looking at, about anger, about fear, about life and loss. Kate's compositions just work harder than most. They're aesthetically pleasing and they also add context. They tell us about the subject. So how do you make a photo about someone? You compose the elements based on their visual interest and their ability to add context. And to do that, you need to know about photography, sure, but you also need to know about your subject. In my case, that meant spending more time with the people I was photographing, getting to know them, of course, but also learning about their history and their traditions. Juan has told me dozens of stories about his Mexica beliefs, about how they guide him through life. He's always turning up with items that he's either made or that are precious to him somehow, so we can try and build a concept around them. Now, I'm not pretending any of this advice is groundbreaking. In fact, it's so obvious that I was kind of embarrassed I hadn't really thought about it before, but I hadn't, so maybe some of you haven't either. Photography can be weird like that. It's easy to focus so much on the details that you lose sight of the bigger picture. When I create portraits now, I try to balance those visual aspects with those human aspects. I look at my subjects through the lens of their personality, their culture, mythology, their history, their humanity, basically. What this will mean for your portraits, I can't know for sure. It's going to depend on who you photograph, of course, but also on how well you learn to bring out their human aspects. The isolated lifestyle of the past couple of years, I guess it's stayed with me. I'm a little less comfortable socially than I was before the lockdowns. These days, parties, bars, they all make me a little anxious, and I was actually okay with that, so I'm a little less sociable these days, whatever. But making this video, it made me rethink all that. For one, it seems a little hypocritical to hype up the human side of photography while hiding away from that very thing in the real world, especially because I get joy from making these portraits precisely because of their humanity. So rather than just accept this as the new normal, I'm gonna push back on my subconscious a little. I mean, if I forgot how to be sociable in just 2 years, I can probably relearn it pretty quickly. So there you go. That was an unexpected addendum for this video. I guess life does sometimes imitate art. I always have to ruin it with a pun.